The Far Quest, The Chronicles of Cursoon, Book 1, by R. Jason Lynch, copyright 2016, EMP 2023, all rights reserved. Chapter 21, The Stream's Tribulation. After following their little stagnant stream for more than a few hours, another brook came and joined itself to their own, but even together the two lay as motionless as before. However, this new stream was somewhat wider as it weaved its way through the dark swamp. They had walked for nearly an hour more when the ground began to slope downwards ever so slightly, and with this small decline, the black stream finally began to move.
Well, now there's no doubting it. We've gone the wrong way. The river flows into the bog at the road, and we've been going downstream all this time. That means the road you wanted is far behind us.
Tippleglee grumbled, and then took a puff on his pipe. Cursoon shrugged.
To be honest, I'm just glad the stream is moving. At least now we know which way we're going.
So we'll be turning back then,
Tippleglee remarked with a scowl.
No.
The bard replied without any reservations.
We started in the middle of this stream, and so we have no idea what the beginning looks like. What if it disappears into the earth or dries up completely?
The bard asked with a shrug, and then gestured to the dark bog all around them.
This stream is still our best hope to escape from this place, but going backward would be nothing but folly.
But your pony and cart, aren't they away back there beside the road?
The little man protested.
Fear not, Mr. Tippleglee. They're well looked after.
Cursoon answered with a smiling chuckle as he turned and began to follow the stream again. Tippleglee growled and shook his head, but he too followed all the same. With the passing of yet another hour, the ground steepened to the point that the stream was forced to drop from one small pool to another. In this way, the black water started producing a small trickling sound, and this happy little noise was like beautiful music in the bard's ears. As the black stream cheerfully met this tribulation, more and more of the dead leaves that covered the stream's bed and choked off its flow were left behind within each pool as it passed through them. At the same time, its foul-smelling mud was slowly washed away so that rocks, sand, and small, smooth pebbles replaced it. Then, somewhere around noon, Cursoon saw a thing that he was beginning to believe was nothing more than a mere dream from his childhood. In the dark distance, there was a shaft of brilliant light. The lone column of sunshine had somehow managed to pierce the thick tangle of branches that hung like a pall over Meyermerk. With unrestrained excitement, Cursoon hurried over and thrust his face into the shaft of light. Closing his eyes, he soaked up the sunshine, and this made a smile part his lips that was almost as bright as the light that shone upon him. The bard stood there for a long moment enjoying the sun's rays, and though it was hot, he ignored the heat, for he missed the light so very much. Once Cursoon felt his spirit was lifted, he reluctantly stepped away from the light and returned to the darkness of Meyermerk and his quest. Unlike the bard, when Tippleglee approached the shaft of sunshine, he stepped near, but did not enter it. He had been so much longer in the shadows of the bog that he almost feared the light's touch. Thus, with cautious hesitation, he only stuck his thin, nimble fingers into the sunshine like a man who was handling a thing that might burn him. Tippleglee was much older than Cursoon, and so the heat of the sun did not feel as harsh upon his skin. Much enjoying the warmth, he soon thrust in his whole bony hand. The pleasant feeling made the little old man smile brightly, but he quickly hid it for fear that Cursoon might see. After shooting a glance toward the bard to make sure he had not, Tippleglee turned and quickened his pace to catch up again with the taller man. After a while, there came another shaft of light, and then another until finally there were patches of sunshine dotting the forest floor everywhere. With this light, there came a gradual greening of the wood. This started with the large black rocks that were scattered about upon the forest floor. These stones quietly exchanged their foul slime for thick, rich green moss. Next, Living underbrush steadily replaced the wads of dead, thorny brambles. Then, the leaves overhead in the trees' branches began to glow like emeralds as the sunlight shone down through them. Moreover, the foul reek of myrmeck slowly became nothing but a distant memory, long since replaced by a rich, clean, earthy smell. At first, only the trickling stream filled the deadly silence of the bog, but as the stream grew clean, the sounds of frogs croaking, birds chirping, and squirrels chattering joined the stream's song. While the two men continued to follow their stream, they watched as yet another joined it, and then another. With each new stream, it grew larger and louder until it could be called nothing but a small river. Cursoon and llElevenLabs followed along the bank of the river, marveling. It was hard for them to believe that this beautiful country lay hidden like a treasure just beyond the foul curtain of myrmeck's shadows. Truly, the clean river that flowed past the farm of Guileless had been completely swallowed by the greedy bog of myrmeck, and the bog befouled everything that came into its darkness. However, no matter how wholly the bog tried to drink in the river, it was clear now to the two travelers that it could not contain the waters forever. Gradually, the river reborn widened as the grade of the land began to level out again. At times, its water flowed more slowly, but then these clean pools were interrupted, here and there, by noisy rapids. These made a sound like the blowing of wind through a pine's boughs. When they had first started following their stagnant stream, Cursoon and llElevenLabs could easily step across it if something barred their way. However, now that the stream had become a river, it was more difficult to cross its swift waters. Thus, they soon found themselves standing before an obstacle. Suddenly, they came to a place where a bluff rose up on the side they followed. Thus, they had only two options: climb the bluff or cross the river.
I don't wish to climb, so let's go across,
Cursoon said resolutely.
All well and good for you. You're a tall man.
llElevenLabs growled. This amused Cursoon because he was actually a little shorter than most common men.
Come, I'll let you ride upon my shoulders,
the bard offered with a smile. The thin wisp of a man was beside himself.
I'm no child to be riding your neck,
he retorted. The bard rolled his blue eyes and took a deep breath. It was his duty to treat the older man with respect, but how he made it difficult.
Remember how the fox is courteous, even as he kills your chickens.
Cursoon grumbled the old proverb under his breath, and then slowly inhaled again. After letting the air back out, he calmly asked,
All right, what do you want to do then?
Wordlessly, llElevenLabs scanned up and down the riverbank.
What are you looking for?
Cursoon asked with curiosity in his voice. llElevenLabs gave no answer. Instead, he strolled back up the riverbank until he came to a narrow place where a small island lay between him and the far side. There he found a large gray stone that lay mostly in the water. With a nimble hop, the old man was upon the stone. Next, he leapt across to a log that stuck out into the river from the island. Balancing, he walked up the log and then hopped onto a large stump that stood in the river. Leaping from the stump to the island's bank, he soon disappeared into the thick brush that covered the island. To Cursoon's surprise, the little man was soon standing on the opposite bank with a proud expression upon his aged face. The bard, not nearly so graceful, started to take off all his clothes, thinking to keep them dry as he crossed, but when he looked at himself, he realized how the filth of myrmeck still clung to him. After smelling himself, he decided to go in with everything on, and so he only held his swords and his pack over his head. The river's current was strong, and it was all the bard could do to keep from slipping upon the smooth, slick rocks that lined the riverbed. As he crossed the river, it grew so deep that it came to his chest. There, he paused and knelt, so that the river flowed over even his head. When he came out upon the other side, he was clean, and though it sagged comically with wetness, his bard's hat was brightly colored again.
Well, at least you'll not stink as bad now.
Tippleglee commented with a smirk. The two men continued to follow the river until, late in the day, it suddenly spilled into a wide, clear lake. Though the dry land ended there, the forest did not, for out in the lake, there grew massive cypress trees in groves as thick as any wood. These were so numerous that Curassoon and Tippleglee could not see the distant shore of the lake. As the two men approached the water's edge, there fell upon their ears a faint sound of splashing water, but as they passed the first few cypress trees that lined the lake's pebbled beach, the sound died away. Neither man said anything to the other, for they both seemed to doubt their own ears. The only proof that someone or something had been there was a few ripples that silently fled out across the lake. Curassoon slumped down upon a large moss-covered stone.
Now what shall we do? We can't go forward and we dare not go back, but who can tell how long it would take to go around?
The bard muttered with discouragement. Tippleglee gave no answer but sat on a smaller rock, gazing out across the surface of the water with an expression Curassoon could not read.